Herkese merhaba. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but delighted to have the opportunity to pre-record this talk and participate in your leadership summit. My name is Richard Marriott. I'm the country manager for Amazon Turkey, and I've enjoyed living in Turkey for the last 2.5 years here with my wife and my 3 sons. And a little bit more about me. I've been with Amazon 6.5 years now, and before Amazon had a wide-ranging career across a range of companies like Coca-Cola, Unilever, banking companies, cable TV and the like. But the one common theme, and it's important for what I'm going to talk to you about today, is my work has always been focused completely on the customer. And so today I'd like to talk to you about Amazon's operating principles and our leadership principles, which are really essential for understanding how Amazon became the big company that you know today from very, very small beginnings. Okay, next slide, please. So we have 4 guiding principles. You can see them here up on the slide. When Jeff Bezos took Amazon public for the first time in 1997, he wrote a letter to shareholders that still applies today. And every year, this letter is attached to the latest letter to shareholders to remind everybody of how important the founding principles are. And in that letter, he said, we continue to focus relentlessly on our customers. We will make investment decisions in the light of long-term market leadership considerations rather than short-term profitability considerations. We want to create compelling value for customers and offer something that customers simply cannot get any other way. So much that is now taken for granted and happens everywhere in online retail was seen as crazy when Amazon did it for the first time. Good examples are customer reviews. Book publishers reacted not well to the idea that customers might say their books were not great, but customers loved the idea of hearing what others thought. Excuse me. Fast delivery. Turkey is famous for high quality service, and 2-day, 1-day delivery, even same-day delivery might seem the norm now. When it first came out, it was absolutely groundbreaking. And even here, as we deliver same-day and next-day delivery to over 60% of the country with very high levels of reliability, we see that it still delights customers. The second principle is a passion for invention. At Amazon, a desire to innovate and a requirement to innovate for customers is part of everybody's job. We expect everybody to be a leader in innovation, regardless of their role. And we built processes that help us do this and help us focus on customer-led innovation. One of them is known as our working backwards process. We work backwards from what are we going to offer the customer, why will that delight them, to then what do we have to do to make it happen, and what might the economics be. So we use a document that we call a press release and frequently asked questions. We call it a PRFAQ. And so any idea in Amazon, the first thing you have to write is what is the press release to announce this idea to the world. And you need to put a date when you're going to launch it, the headline that is really going to grab attention. You need to explain what you're offering and what problem you're solving so that customers will be delighted. And then the rest of the document goes through key questions like, what is the customer need? How do we know that's their need? Exactly how are we going to meet it? What resources do we need to meet this need? What technical capabilities do we need to build? Etc., etc. And by iterating these documents, many ideas go through 20 or 30 versions of these documents. We really, really hone the ideas to make them as powerful and as simple as possible before we then build them and turn them into software engineering and products and features that we can release to customers and scale to millions of customers around the world. And it's by solving the hardest problems, such as Kindle reading, fast delivery, robotic warehouses, Alexa voice shopping, that we create the biggest value. And we use PRFAQs for really big ideas and also all small ideas in the organization. Third principle is a commitment to operational excellence. Put simply, this has two aspects. Firstly, we deliberately prefer execution by systems and algorithms to inconsistent human practice. If we can automate something, we will. If we can't automate something, we believe it's only because we haven't simplified it enough yet. And secondly, for everything that we do, we define very, very clear metrics to measure what's going on in the automation and whether it is delivering the result that we expect. And we then set goals relentlessly about increasing those metrics over time, with senior leaders going to very great depth and very great detail to measure and audit those goals. An example of this is what we call hands off the wheel programs. So if we find an area of our business where we have manual work, we execute a hands off the wheel program where we roll out automation and we literally ask the human beings involved to stop doing what they're doing, let the system do it, and instead turn their attention to examining how well does the system do it? Can the system be improved? Are there use cases that we haven't yet automated that we can think of how to automate? And so automation and hands off the wheel is absolutely critical. Inevitably, there are errors, there are bugs, we find them. But our view is that our people leadership is all about providing judgment and delivering value where we can't yet automate the task. And so we view people as a critical resource working hand in hand with automation, where the automation delivers the operational excellence and the human interaction provides the judgment required for any given situation. And then fourthly, long-term thinking. If we look at Amazon, we've never been afraid to fail. It's absolutely part of the DNA that failure can provide great lessons. And there's a very famous failure example with the Amazon Fire Phone. And what's interesting is a number of leaders and a number of people involved in that project then went on to very successfully work on Amazon Alexa and took the learnings from that failure to make the next thing even more successful. And so we work very, very hard to think long term. We know that things may be difficult in the short term. We know things may be costly, but as long as we have momentum and an ability to improve the situation, the customer inputs, the quality of the automation, the quality of the experience, week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter, then we will make improvements over time. That means we will achieve the big long-term goal. And so, when we enter a country like Turkey, we are thinking 5 and 10 years out. We are not thinking, what are we going to achieve in the first 2 years? We're all about building the customer experience and growing it and building momentum in the pace of growth quarter over quarter. And we believe that if every quarter we develop the momentum in our customer experience, in our business models, in our partnerships, then over the long term, we will be very, very successful. An interesting example of long-term thinking is how we approach reward. Everyone in Amazon has a base salary, but we don't pay any bonuses. So instead, we give RSU grants that vest over several years. Now, before I worked for Amazon, very often in the last 3, 4, 5 months of the year, my mind would turn to my end of year bonus and what did I need to do to make sure I was as successful as possible in hitting my goals and getting the biggest bonus possible. And sometimes this led to me focusing on me and what I needed to do away from the customer or the organization. It diverted me, it introduced a bias. And I think this is pretty common in bonus-orientated outcomes. In Amazon, every day and every week and every month, I'm focused on the long term because there is nothing I can do that will affect next year's compensation. That was driven last year. I'm affecting my long-term compensation with my growth and my development and my delivery of results for the customer. And so the way we do reward encourages long-term thinking, long-term focus, encourages broader ownership. And so, hence, I simply go to work with the motivation to do the best job that I can. Now, I can't leave our principles without talking about one of the most famous things about Amazon, which is that we don't have PowerPoint inside Amazon. you'll laugh at me and say, oh, but of course he's presenting a slide now. They clearly do have PowerPoint. Well, yes, okay, you're right. We do occasionally use PowerPoint for external communication. But inside Amazon, we view that PowerPoint is not very precise. Trying to discuss a PowerPoint presentation is a little bit like having a book club meeting when you've only read half the book. Instead, in Amazon, we focus on clarity of communication, and we believe the process of writing a narrative, writing a document, helps leaders formulate their ideas and really think through their problems and their strategies and their approaches and really work out what they want to say. And then by forcing people to iterate documents until their thinking is really clear, we help people with their thinking. And then we run meetings in a little bit of a study hall environment. So meetings will start, a document will be posted in the chat room or sent round on email, and everyone will very quietly read the document together at the same time for 10, 15, 20 minutes. For bigger meetings, 30, 40 minutes, maybe even an hour. And these meetings may have 3 or 4 people, but they could have up to 50 or 60 people. And then the meeting focuses on areas of discussion from the document, key comments that leaders have that they want to discuss, and key topics. And we progress through the document line by line. Each line has a row number, so it's easy to navigate where you are. And people say, hang on, I have a question on line 127. And what's strange is very often if you write something that everyone agrees with, no one will say anything in the meeting because they just agree with it. It doesn't add value to say, oh, I agree with this paragraph. Instead, we focus on what are the key debates, what are the areas of lack of understanding, and what are the areas that need discussing before the plan and the decisions are blessed. It's a very different way of working, but it allows huge depth and breadth of coverage for senior leaders in the same number of hours that I have every week, that you have every week. I have no more time than you do, but a process of document reviews allows me to cover an awful lot of different topics to very great depth in the organization. And I think that's one of the secrets, along with operational excellence and these principles, that helps Amazon move at such speed. Next slide, please. So let's focus on our leadership principles. We use these leadership principles in our daily practice. We hire people against them. We review them, people's performance against them for promotions. If we have internal jobs, then we interview people. And again, we use the leadership principles to interview people. We really live and breathe them every day. And they define the behaviors that we expect from leaders. And one of the things I thought might be interesting for you, after 6.5 years in Amazon and multiple roles in the UK and 2.5 years in Turkey, to just draw out some of the nuances in the leadership principles and how they can be different culture to culture. Excuse me. I'm sure everyone would agree that customer obsession, bias for action, deliver results, earns trust are really good things in any company, in any culture. And I would agree with that too. But it is interesting that there are slight nuances in how we interpret these, and it takes time to learn the meaning of how Amazon means them. An example of customer obsession might be when we've had recent changes in exchange rate, which caused cost price changes in our business. Now, we had lots of inventory that we'd bought at older cost prices, and we worked very hard to keep the prices on those products as low as possible for as long as possible. Around us, others were putting prices up quite quickly for fear that they wouldn't be able to replenish the stock. But our focus was on protecting the customer rather than making a difference to our, that week's profit and loss. And that was an interesting example to our suppliers of how we protect customer obsession and how we're willing to trade off customer obsession against profitability when things get tough. Another example is bias for action. And one of the things I admire enormously in Turkish business culture is the incredible bias for action and speed that everybody brings to daily topics. And in fact, it's something I see much more present in Turkey than I did in the UK on average. Speed matters in business, and this is why it's one of our key leadership principles. But equally, I talked earlier about thinking about the long term, and I talked about automation, and I talked about building technology. And so these things are sometimes in tension. And one of the things we really encourage people to do in Amazon is take the time to fully understand the inputs and all of the details, to peel back the onions to get to the root cause of a problem, and then make sure that our action, when we do the bias for action, the action is focused on the root cause of the problem, and it's focused on changing something that will have the biggest long-term impact. Even if it takes us longer to develop it, we would rather a bigger long-term impact than a bigger short-term impact. Deliver results. Short-term actions are critical for getting things done. What's interesting in Turkey is that my teams that I work with, and I've hired a lot of people over the last couple of years and worked with a lot of people, are very, very, very good at hitting targets. You put a number, a target in front of them, a sales target, whatever it might be, and wow, there is incredible focus on doing what it takes to achieve that number. Now, in Amazon, we like hitting targets. Of course we do. We're a business just like everybody else. But because we think long term, we actually view targets more as milestones rather than numbers that must be hit. They are measurements of progress. And this means we do a couple of things. Firstly, if the target is too low, we often adjust it and increase the target during the year. And secondly, if people miss the target, we don't fire them. We celebrate for the progress that they've made, and we celebrate the fact that they came close, or however close they've made progress, they've moved the business forward. And this has taken quite a bit of explanation, because as we've increased targets mid-year, particularly during the coronavirus pandemic, when online sales grew very rapidly and we were beating our previous targets, the teams were morale dropped because they went from having targets they were hitting to targets they weren't hitting. And we said, but actually this measures progress, and we were artificially helped by the pandemic. And so to make the same amount of progress, we actually have to reset the milestone, the target, the bar higher to truly measure whether we're making the right amount of progress. And so it takes quite a lot of explanation to help people understand that these are measures of the right amount of progress. They are milestones. They're not numbers that we live or die by. They inspire us, they urge us on, but if we fall short, but we've made good progress, that's okay. And this takes a little while to explore the nuance that is occasionally different from environments in which people have worked before. And then finally, earns trust. I've been in Turkey long enough to know how important relationships are. Relationships are fundamental to Turkish society at every level, in every part of the country and the society. And people who join Amazon from other Turkish companies bring with them really great focus on relationships. And that looks and sounds like earns trust. The slight nuance is that sometimes we can get stuck on problems because two people can't solve the problem themselves. They're stuck, maybe they have incompatible goals, or they don't have enough resources, they don't have the authority to change something. In these situations in Amazon, we ask that people escalate the situation to more senior leaders as fast as possible, because more senior leaders can very rapidly change the goals, they can rapidly change resources, unblock the problem, and allow rapid progress. But we have had to explain really carefully that this isn't a breach of relationship. As long as it's understood on both sides that you are stuck, to say, let's get our bosses involved is not a criticism of the quality of the relationship. It's not a betrayal of the relationship. It's a recognition of not being able to solve the problem between them for reasons that are totally understandable. And so earns trust in an Amazon sense means relationships, of course it does, but it also means having the ability to escalate rapidly in the right way so that the business can move at speed. Next slide, please. Now, talking about innovation, one of our biggest innovations that empowers small and medium businesses is the Amazon marketplace. Originally, everyone thought we were completely mad to, as a retailer, to allow sellers to compete with our Amazon retail business to sell products, the same products to our customers. but it has become the biggest, most successful thing about Amazon. It is more than 60% of our business globally. And with small and medium businesses selling on Amazon stores today, we empower over 1.9 million businesses selling on stores around the world. And when they grow, Amazon grows. And it's a great example when you think about the long-term possibilities and you accept the risk that you're willing to cannibalize a part of your business to create something that is bigger and more compelling. Now, we didn't just stop there by letting small and medium businesses access the same detail page and compete with Amazon to win the order from the customer. We then opened up all of our logistics systems so that sellers could use those too, so that we could deliver sellers' products as fast as Amazon retail products. And today, Fulfilled by Amazon services provide fast, reliable delivery and incredible customer service, and enable sellers and small and medium businesses to reach customers faster, which drives sales and helps them grow. So today, Amazon services, they equalize everyone's ability to start a business and to reach customers. Whether you are a big established business in Turkey or anywhere in the world, or whether you're just an individual wanting to start on your own, you have equal opportunity through Amazon Marketplace to get to the millions of customers we have in Turkey and around the world. And we view this as a fundamental ability to empower employment, empower entrepreneurship, empower e-commerce development so that people can build businesses and reach customers and do that with a level playing field over time. Thank you very much. Last slide, please. I hope I've given you a flavor of Amazon's way of thinking and the way we work to provide the best value for customers and small and medium businesses. The truth is, the key to Amazon's success isn't a secret. It is about long-term customer obsession. It is about being willing to be misunderstood, taking risks, and not being afraid to try and fail. And as Amazon Turkey, by doing this, we look to continue to deliver the best value to our Turkish customers and empower our Turkish selling partners both domestically and internationally. Like we always say, every day is day one and bizi izlemeye devam edin. Çok teşekkür ederim. İyi günler.